Hi there, everybody. I'm Fred Thomas, and you're watching All Things Bike. And today we are talking with Don Seib, founder and owner of Barker Mountain Bikes. Don, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Fred. Great to be here.
Now, it's great to have you. Thanks for making the trip from Bethel. Tell us more about where the shop is located, its customer base, the terrain. Give us a sense of what it's like.
Sounds good. So we bought Barker Mountain Bikes 3 years ago from Pete Southam. It was actually called Bethel Bicycle. And Pete was a coach for Gould Academy, and couldn't get bike parts. There wasn't a shop within a major drive. So right. Our kids actually went to Gould, and we'd talked to him a few times about possibly buying the shop, because he actually wanted it for the team, and his son was on the team. And
right.
Once that ended, he was like, didn't see the future in it. So we ended up buying it. It's Bethel, Maine, about an hour north of here, right by Sunday River. Yep. Ideal location for cycling. Road cycling is really good. There's a ton of new mountain bike development going on up there. Some gravel, just a super nice area to live and ride in.
I bet. I mean, you're pretty close to the White Mountains too. I mean, you just go south a bit on Route something and then turn left, and you're on your way over towards that whole stretch of mountain rides and passes. But then, what about? Isn't there's a ski resort around there? And
yep.
Is that where the trails are? Or?
Well, so Sunday River does have downhill mountain biking, but just in Bethel, there's Pine Hill Trail System. Bethel Village Trails is coming on. It's a new network right behind the Bethel Inn. Right. Bacon Hill is a little bit down the road. And then from a road cycling, we really don't get over into the Prezzies too much, because you have to get through Gorham. We actually head north and up through Grafton Notch and Roxbury Gap, which you get up into the Northern Lakes, no traffic. Wow. Really stellar riding. I mean, the views, high to land up at Moosa-Laguntic, Richardson. Just really, really beautiful road riding.
The best kept secret in Maine cycling, I'm
sure. Kind of is, actually.
Well, what's your connection to cycling? I mean, tell us about your background. Was it racing, or is it enthusiast riding? What's the connection? Yeah,
so my wife and I, about 30 years ago, we saw our first mountain bike, and we were just like, wow, those look pretty cool. And we literally walked into a little shop in Melrose, Mass, and we bought 2 of them.
What was it, a Fat Chance or a Specialized? Or?
No, it was a GT Avalanche and a Raleigh Tangent. You know, hardtails.
26-inch wheels.
26, no suspension. I mean, even suspension forks weren't, no clipless pedals yet. So the early days. And we did some racing at venues that don't even exist anymore. One called Galloping Gears. And it was pretty fun. So we got hooked into the cycling scene. And kind of did that for a couple of years. Then I jumped over to the road and started road racing. And like most mountain bikers, kind of a knucklehead on the road. And
well, I mean, you were riding extremely well at the Scarborough Crit, I thought. And if anything, the mountain biking is great for your bike handling skills, I'm always told.
Yeah, no, absolutely transfers over. It's that whole tactics thing that, you know, as a mountain biker, you go off and lead the Cat 5s for like 30 miles and wonder why you get dropped in the last 10.
I know, well, the tactics always surprise me too, but that's great. That's a great connection. What about you've got a great statement on the website, which is a shop. It's a lot of things, but it's a shop with no attitude and a place where everyone can arrive and feel like they're hanging out with friends. And it's a refreshing premise. What's the inspiration or the background of that?
So I think over the years I've had a lot of people that kind of help me out when I as you move through the tiers of cycling, each tier gets, progressively harder. It's not a little harder, it's a lot harder.
There's always someone, exactly.
Always, and it's the people that have helped me that kind of inspired me to actually form a team. So I rode early 90s with NABC, and then I joined a team called Dream Bikes with Fran Castano. And then I went to Bikeman. I rode for Bikeman for 8 years. Great group, really liked them a ton. So, I've always been treated well in the sport, and I've had people do that. And so B&B was an opportunity for my wife and I to actually give something back. While we wanted to own a shop, we wanted a place to get people on wheels, because we think the culture, the people, they're just some of the best people on the planet. So, you know, we created a shop atmosphere where anybody can come in, whether you're buying a $500 bike or a $10,000 bike. We want to make sure you get on a bike and you walk out and you're happy on it. So we do little things like, you know, a free fit kit. I mean, I sit down, the last thing I do is want somebody to go out and hop on a bike with a crooked saddle or you know, bad reach or whatever. So 30 minutes, might swap a stem and handlebars. We do that for free. You know, from the 20 flavors of mountain bikes right now. I mean, it's about as confusing as you can get coming into a store. So it's that, and then we carried that through the team. So we've been, you know, with Bikeman, we used to take all their gear to all the cross races, and we're like, we like that sense of community. So when we go to races, you know, we pay for UCI Tier 1 space, and we bring 4 10x10s, and doesn't matter whether you wear our jersey or your jersey or a Down East jersey, you're welcome. I mean, we've had some elite riders that, you know, are basically solo funded that come in and they're like, they have a problem, and I'll wrench on anybody's bike. So it's that sense of community, and I think here in New England we are so lucky to have the amount of riding and racing, and that community literally, I mean, there's not a race that I go to where I don't see 50 to 100 people that I know that are just, you know, the greatest people on earth.
Your friends. Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, I constantly say, and it's true, if I didn't have the bike racing scene, I would have no friends, and I suppose that's just the way it's ended up, and it is true. New England is a small network, and you spend enough time in it, you really you develop all these great relationships. What about you know, the whole add to cart versus, you know, buy local? I mean, that's the great sort of tension or puzzle of the 21st century. What's your perspective on it, and what do customers say when that whole topic comes up? Yeah,
it's pretty interesting, because I mean, when we first got the shop, I don't know anything about running a shop, so I read Bicycle Retailer, and I read it religiously. And you know, last year I think 1,000 shops went out of business. And it's pretty clear that you can fight that model, but it's not going away. So you really need to embrace it. So the buy local thing, sure. Do I want somebody to buy parts from me? Do I know that's not going to happen? Absolutely. So if someone comes in with a box from Jensen, Bikeman, Art Cyclery, I don't care. You know, quite often I'll find what they bought might not work, or I'll have a better option for them. And I think at first they're a little confused, like, wow, this is kind of weird. So, and we know that's the case. We're going to head online ourselves. We need to be able to offer that channel. But with what I've learned in cycling is, I come from an IT background, and so I bring a lot of IT-isms into the, you know, we do things a little different. So if you bring a dirty bike into our shop, we clean it. I mean, literally, people come in and go, wow, that's my bike. We do the free fit. So it's one of those things, your local bike shop, you need to offer something they can't get online. And it's that community. You know, I kidded my wife, we bought an espresso machine, mostly because I wanted one in the shop. But,
but that's,
you know, anybody that walks in, you know, have a cup of coffee, sit down, relax, you know. Friday late in the day, you know, we open some tasty double IPAs at the last half hour, and people come in and just hang and sit. So, you know, I think that whole online, it's going to be there. It's a channel. The Amazon's not going away. We need to embrace that model, but you got to have a reason for somebody to come in your door. And if it's a super comfortable environment, you know, they'll come visit.
That's right. I mean, people want to come in and talk bikes, and they like the sense of community. And it's a place to hang out with friends, and you can't get your steer tube cut online. I think the truism. What I mean, are the attitudes of the suppliers changing at all? Are they? I mean, the suppliers who are out there, the bike brands, for example? I mean, do they show?
I think so. So you know, when we first bought the shop, we had a certain set of brands. So like that shop, we could carry Specialized shoes and helmets, but we didn't carry their bikes. So Adam St. Germain calls me up, you know, you learn everything on Facebook. He said, hey, I see you bought a bike shop. And I said, yeah. And he goes, well, what do you think about the bikes? And I said, you know, I don't know if people understand how bike shops work, but you buy basically, it's not really called a floor plan, but you have to buy into a certain minimal level every year. And I said, I said, I don't think our entire business in 1 year meets your minimum level. He's like, no, don't worry about it. We'll work through it. So I think the industry is learning that, at this point, the small shop is the answer. The big shops like the Wheelworks and Cycle Lofts, they'll be there. The buyers that can do $1 million.
Yeah.
But I think the level 4, like we were 4 when we started, we've doubled almost every year. We're up to a level 2. I don't think we'll ever be level 1 because you're not in an urban environment, right? Right. We're in Bethel. We have 5,000 people. So I think they're embracing it, and I think even the distributors get it. They realize that for us to be able to play in that world, they need to get product to us. So. I love all our distributors, but one in particular, QBP, they're rock stars at fulfillment.
Oh, yeah.
If I put the order in on Monday night at 5:30, I got it on Wednesday, and I'm actually one of the only places in the country that doesn't get it in 1 day.
Right.
So, that's faster than any mail order company can get it to you. And so if I can get it in the shop, I can get it really quickly. So I think they get it. They want us to be around. QBP says, no, you got to show us a picture of the store. You need to be the real deal before you can purchase. So I think they get it. And I think it's evolving. That model is going to continue to evolve, and you have to embrace it, and that's what we're going to do.
No, that's great, Don. I mean, I'm sure it'll go in a direction that no one really anticipates. But one of your most noticeable platforms is the team. I think at the Crit Series this spring, there were more B&B racing jerseys there in most of the categories. I can't remember, but I saw a lot of them. So it's gotten very big. Tell us, how big is it now, and what are the disciplines and the events that they've been at?
Yeah, sounds good. So we really bought the shop because we wanted to have a team, which is a little weird, but it's kind of an avenue to get people into the sport. So we're about 50 right now. Plus or take a few. We've got a handful of people on the team that don't race. They're just like, one of them's a soigneur for the U.S. cycling team, and where's our kid over in Europe? That's awesome. She's an awesome person. So we race everything. We started off as a cyclocross team. The original formation was actually Next Wheels and B&B. It was Next B&B. We did that for a fall. And we just took it full gas. So we're mountain bike, cross, and then this past week we were at Crit Week, almost every single event. So I would say road is, we had a ton at the Crit. So we actually do have a lot more road racers, but I would say people wear multiple hats. There's not a lot of single discipline riders out there anymore.
Yeah, I think that's right. I know Tony Guglieri, he's in cross, and then he's in mountain bikes, and then you see him on a Saturday morning ride, and he's everywhere. Well, so where are all the riders from? They're not all from Bethel. I mean, they're from all over the state. Yeah,
well, the bike man thing kind of carried on. So a bunch of people that I had become very friends with came to B&B after. So I would say we're New England based, although we've had some juniors that have grown out and are now in Colorado, Oregon, that are racing collegiate. So we believe we want people to race in just our jersey, with the exception of collegiate, because you have to race a certain amount of events in a collegiate jersey to go to nationals.
I see.
So we're regional, but we do all the major events. So we hit the big UCI races. We did Jingle Cross last year. We're going to mountain bike nationals in a couple weeks.
Wow.
So we're pretty visible, but we're not an elite team. We're Cat 5 to Cat 1, and our philosophy is simple. We don't care how good you are. We care how good a person you are. We want people to come and be part of something bigger than winning a bike race. It's the community and what you can give back. And we have some of the Tony Guglieri. We have some masters that literally would give you the shirt off their back. So we bring these juniors into the fold, and it's awesome. We take these young, unmolded kids, and for the hour before a bike race, it's, do you have your kit laid out? Do you have your shoes? Are you warming up? Are you on the trainer? and we bring them in and show them how people who have done it,
right.
you do it.
Mentoring,
right.
a lot of mentoring.
Right.
Well, do you organize your own race for a cross or mountain?
So we did have our first race, a fat bike race this winter called Snowmageddon up in Bethel.
I heard about it, yeah.
The weather did not work with us. Fat biking's a little fickle. So we sponsor a bunch of events. So like next weekend, or actually this weekend coming up, Titcomb's Women's Clinic. So Matt Reynolds up in Titcomb, awesome guy, knocks it out of the park, giving it back to the sport. So he runs a women's clinic. I think last year they had 75, 80 women, got them on bikes, showed them, took them out with instructors, Central Maine NEMBA, very incredible. Right. Events like Bombrook Tread Fest. We didn't actually sponsor that. We did give some gear last year. Chris Riley, again, knocking it out of the park. VT3, which is coming up.
Yeah, I think I saw that. This is a mountain bike stage race. I mean,
right.
How does that work?
Well, so a friend of mine, Sheldon Miller, he's been up at Craftsbury. I've known him for quite a few years, great guy. So they started doing one-day race, and they saw that this mountain bike stage race thing was catching on. So they launched last year. It was an incredibly accessible event. Right. They did it really well. Craftsbury in August is like paradise. When it's hot and muggy and you're standing in line for 5 miles at the Bourne, you could be on a lake in northern Vermont riding your mountain bike. That's
pretty clear.
It's a big win. So we saw that. Ollie Burgess, who works there, and Sheldon and I said, all right, I'm all in. I want to sponsor this event. Right. Great Glen 24 Hours was one we went to for years and went away. There's kind of a hole in New England for a signature event. So we see this, if you look at Pisgah, Transylvania, these big stage races, they're really catching hold. And, I like the Craftsbury guys, I like the area, and so it's just a way to get our name out there. We're gonna, as I said, we're passionate about junior and women, so we're gonna pay pro women the exact same winning as men. I have a daughter who races, and I watched for years and watched how women were not treated as equal, which really just, actually it's astonishing to me.
Yeah, I know. I mean, how did you persuade your daughter to start racing bikes? I mean, I've been trying, and it's not working out, but she's doing track, so maybe she'll come around. But I mean, is there
It was just a natural fit. We went to a cross race at Suckerbrook, and literally they're 37-pound Trek bikes. We entered them, and that just hooked them. I mean, and that was the thing we saw that Cross did right. It made a junior event that was very consumable. It wasn't like you were out at a road race disappearing for 3 hours and coming home.
I know, yeah. That's
with Cross you have 45 minutes. It's a very upbeat, fun community. So that got the kids hooked. And if you watch in New England, Cross is a great feeder. And the same thing with the high school league down in Nesca. It's blowing the doors off. You watch the videos, and at the start of a 5th, 6th grade race, they're crossing the line for 3 minutes. And I mean, hats off to that crew. I mean, as you watch that, that's the next generation that we really need to feed and develop. And
you've been doing that. I mean, you've been reaching out to the juniors, and I think the women's race at the Scarborough Crit had mostly BMB riders on it. I mean, is there a program that you've been following, or are you working with regional schools or organizations to sort of really reach out to the juniors?
We are. So we tapped the family vein first. So we looked for parents that had juniors, and we really, when we first started, I went out and said, hey, we can help out. If you want to come, because the support at the race is a big deal. We did recently, just this year, partner with Killington Mountain School. So what we wanted to do is, we can't be taking juniors to tour Dairyland. So this year, KMS BMB, that's the new marketing behind them. We are kind of a feeder program. So we hang with them at the cross races, at the big cross races, and we said, here's a great opportunity. So Brad Ramsey and I got together last winter, and we said, okay, how do we make this work? So you have a kid in New England who's very successful, Cat 4-3. How do you move them up? Well, you take them out, you take them to Road Nationals, you take them to Tour Dairylands and these bigger races. And so it was an awesome partnership for us.
That's great. I mean, I had no idea, but that's a great way to really get the kids on a path that is going to get them to a higher level, and hopefully they'll have fun, and I'm sure they'll have fun.
Yeah.
Well, tell us a little bit more about the support programs and the group rides that you organize from the shop, so people have an idea of what's going on.
Yeah. So we didn't talk about the shop too much, but that's okay.
Yeah.
So we have we keep the same philosophy for a shop ride.
Right.
So we have a Tuesday night ride, and you can have a handful of people that show up that are spicy, your middle group and your slow group, and we just don't. There's no separation. There's like, hey, you're a B group. We all start the ride together. There's a natural separation, and we regroup. Last Tuesday we did a ride up to Evans Notch. I think there was like 30 of us. Fantastic ride. Like 5 of us, got up Evans Notch. It was, a little bit of some reindeer games that went on, but we all waited at the top and hung out and took a picture. And then on the way home, the group largely stayed together. So that's our Tuesday night ride. Wednesday, we have something called a casual ride. Mm-hmm. And my wife runs that, Kristen, and it's an avenue to get people out on a group ride who would never consider it. Wow, so whether you're on a fat bike, you're on whatever, it can be 10 miles an hour, it can be 14 miles an hour. It could be 10 miles, it could be 20 miles. It depends on who shows. But everyone's welcome, whether you're on flats, whatever. And that ride has been really awesome.
That's great.
And then my wife also participates in what's called Women on Wheels. It's a Thursday mountain bike thing. Mm-hmm. Again, everyone's welcome. And they're a super social group. I mean, you can go up with any skill level. So we have lots of opportunity that you can show up and ride in Bethel at any point. And, Fred, if you came up on a Saturday and said, hey, Don, let's go rip off 100 miles, I'd be glad to do that too,
I might take you up on that. I don't know any, I just don't know my way around up there. And I have a very general idea. But that's great. If the shop is welcoming and inclusive, then it will succeed, I'm sure. That's great, Don. Thanks so much for coming in and telling us about the shop, and I look forward to hearing more about the mountain bike adventures and seeing you at the races.
Awesome. Thanks, Fred. Great to be here.
All right, everybody, that was Don Seib of Barker Mountain Bikes. You can learn more about the shop on the internet, and you can stop by Bethel and take a look for yourself. That is all we've got time for right now. Thanks so much, and we will see you again soon.
All Things Bike with Fred Thomas is brought to you by Xentis, performance carbon wheels handmade in Austria for road and off-road riding. Xentis, next generation wheels. And Frame and Wheel eBay bike selling services. Time, space, cash. Pick 3. And AD Bikes, the modern face of Austro Daimler cycling and the bike company of the future.